vaccin COVID-19 là approuvé pour ti moun 5 ans ou soit plus grand.
C'est plusieurs milliers de Timoun qui ont participé dans le test qui prouvait vaccin sain et sauf et puis li efficace.
Année qui s'est passée là, c'était difficile pour nous toutes, et spécialement pour Timoun nous yo.
Vaccin a permis toute activité recommencer. En même temps, la mette Timoun yo et nous-mêmes tout en sécurité.
Li normal pour nous gagner question sous petit nous avec vaccin.
Parler avec Petito, les fini, prend conseil dans mes docteurs.
Mes amis, fais la science confiance. Prends vaccin.
Welcome to our weekly rendezvous. This is the place where we meet with people that are very truly important doing some work within the community. And we have a chance to talk with them and to chat with them and to really learn not only about themselves, but about what they are doing also in our communities, because these are faithful servants who have dedicated their lives to surely help out and making sure that we are ahead of the game. Because information is key to a livelihood. The more that you get to be educated, you get to know what's going on in your surrounding, the better that you will grow, and the faster you can achieve a lot of things in life. And that also helps you out to be very concerned and very educated. On this end, my name is Jean-Claude Seno, the host of Radio Concorde Forum Communautaire, MCTV presentator, and also InfoHaiti.net. We're combining our efforts together to really focusing on education this coming up year. It's going to be marvelous. We're going to have several hours for you on the airwaves, and you'll be able to at least to learn so much as far as what is going on in your surrounding. On a weekly basis, we are here, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming for the first time Andrew Sharp. He is as sharp as he looks, and I'll tell you that much. This man has been very concerned and very involved within the community. This is another Caribbean brother from another mother, and he'll be able to tell you more about that, the piece of land where he came from. We'll get to know more about him, and we'll be able to at least learn so much. You may be seeing him in 2 segments altogether, and one of them we're going to elaborate and learning about the organizations also, which is Authentic Caribbean Foundation. Sir, a pleasure to have you today.
It's a great pleasure to see you again, and great work that you're doing in letting the people, disseminating the information to our people.
True. When we hear this accent, it must be coming somewhere in the West Indies.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, we're neighbors.
Yes,
I'm from
sir.
Jamaica,
Okay.
and I know you're from Haiti.
Yes, sir.
And there's a great history between the both islands.
Yes, sir, especially under independence.
Yes. And we know that our people struggled and fought, or colonialists.
Yes, sir.
Back in the
Yes,
days,
sir.
so-
Yes, sir. The success was not alone.
Yes.
It was a combination of efforts of slaves into all these pockets who actually came up together and really helped out. I've been told the greater Bookman or Booker T, or whatever you guys call him, is one of the famous that came from that homeland and who really helped lead part of the starting of the revolutions.
That's correct.
No one would ever thought of that. They call him a voodoo priest, but you know, it's a way of shaping it, giving it a different color,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. But again, from the name itself, that means it was a man that was a wise man.
Yes.
It was a man of knowledge, a man who had a lot of wisdom, and this is how he started leading the people in the plantations to really uprise and turn out to be what is today the most greatest revolutions ever in the history of mankind.
Fine. Yes.
The first slave revolutions that ever achieved true freedom complete.
Completely.
And later on, all mankind on this planet Earth started calling themselves, they are the savior of the world, they the liberator, and so on and so forth. You know, all the way from England, they are taking credit for things that they have never done. But anyhow, that's okay.
Well, I'm so glad that you have mentioned that, because we from the Caribbean has been the forefront from 1868 up until today's date. We've been doing extremely well for this state of Massachusetts and also to the great United States. We're all over. We have achieved a lot, and it's a great pleasure that I've migrated here 12 years ago and started my nonprofit organization, which is Authentic Caribbean Foundation. I realized that, you know, the needs of Caribbean American is so important, and especially with my organization, we zoomed into persons with disability, and more zoomed in is the kids with disability. So we realized that the disability community sometimes are forgotten.
Yes, sir.
People forget about, you know, the deaf, and one day you might be well, tomorrow you might become disabled.
I guess.
And disability comes in many forms.
All
you
right.
know, dyslexia, autism, you have a physical, you could have a mental, and so forth. So it was important that we focused on that and provide support.
It's a great mission. It's a great mission, and something that was being neglected thoroughly, because even when we are talking with American themselves, there's an amount of neglect toward people with disability. And this is why the act has to be passed by the late Kennedy to really take control over the livelihood of these people. However, with you doing this, that's fantastic. We're going to unfold it into this a little bit later. But 12 years prior to that, what were you doing? And tell us a little bit about that whole Kingston, Jamaica.
Yes, so we know in the islands, it's either banking or tourism.
Okay.
And I chose tourism. And I came from a tourism background. I was heavily involved in working in the tourism industry, dealing with people. That's why I'm a people person. And did an extensive travel while I was in Jamaica, visiting many places, promoting the Caribbean as a destination. And
but you guys have done a very great job, which is, I think you should all be a role model for the rest of the West Indies, because the way that you guys marketed Jamaica, it's unbelievable. I'm going to give you compliments for that one.
Thank you so much. And that is so true. And many of the Caribbean islands have followed through in terms of the tourism product. While I was home too, I was immersed into the cultural, the arts, and that was something that I loved. I'm so happy to be here on this platform, but while I was in school, I was able to learn theater.
Okay.
Back of the stage, production, lights.
Well, you're talking to an actor here also as well. That has been part of my upbringing.
Yes.
Creating, we had at least a couple theater group here in Boston. We did form La Pléiade, which is a play of different actors that comes together and perform. One of the organizations I used to tour in around the United States. Then I met the famous Jacques-Claude Martineau, who is a Haitian author, very well known, and we did also a company by the name of Chou Black. Nice. And so, you know, my younger days were in the platform, so
yes.
we have some connections here.
Yeah. and it was so nice to connect. I met with the great deceased Right Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley, which was one of our icons, and hopefully Jamaica will give her National Heroes honor, because she was distinctive in creating our languages, our folklore, our songs, and that really helped me so much in terms of performing some of her poetry.
Beautiful.
And to look at life, and appreciate our culture, the Caribbean culture, and moving here. What I did also was to ensure that our first and second generation learn their culture.
Which has a tendency to be lost along the way, not unless we revamp it or we're trying to encourage and mobilize. And normally one of the reasons that we lost this whole acculturations, when you're coming into the United States, you got sucked in, and yours is kind of vanished, and you adapt very easily with the flow of what is going on here. I have always been eager in fighting against that, because I think that there's nothing wrong for you to have both connections together.
Right.
You don't trade off one for the other. You connect both of them together and you grow bigger, because the United States can benefit
Right.
from both.
That's correct.
So there is no doubt about it. So I'm so glad that you are mentioning this. It has also been brought to my attention that the Haitian Creole language has been spoken somewhere also in the West Indies.
Yes.
Was that ever true in Jamaica?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the various dialects,
Yes.
you know, right across the region, they're connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're very much connected. And, you know, I'm happy to see that it is now a language. You know, it can be written, spelled, and spoken. And once a dialect or a Creole is written, spoken, it is a language.
Okay.
So we're so happy.
Well, it's the way that people communicate. So I don't understand the naysayers who are saying, "Oh, this is not a language. This is not this. Is
Right.
not that." And I think they are so afraid of the invasions of another versions to really get out there. So therefore, they're trying to push it under the
Yes.
rug, not allowing it to come up. Yeah,
And
go ahead.
that was one of the colonialists.
Yes, sir.
What they did to really deter us
Mm-hmm.
from it, but we were strong again. Our forefather was
Mm-hmm.
able to create this dialect so that we can understand as well. Miss Lou would say, we mix it up and blend it so that they don't understand us at all.
And it was a tool of fighting also as well.
Yes.
Because that communications became very important. When the enemy doesn't understand you, you're ahead of the game
Right.
with them. Well, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. So, tell me a little bit more about this whole versions of selling Jamaica to the world. How'd you guys come about with this whole concept?
Well, from, you know, back then it was, and history, when I did a little research, with Jamaica and even the US, even Massachusetts, when we used to export banana and fruits to this part of the world, then those days they say, okay, since we're exporting to there, why not bring them to here?
Okay.
And that was how the concept of marketing Jamaica. And everybody can remember that photograph with the lady with a tank top, bodysuit with Jamaica written on it.
Okay.
And that was the seller for Jamaica.
Very nice. Very nice. And ever since it's been growing.
Yes, yes.
Now, I understood that at times when Kingston's was really dangerous, it had affected somewhat
Yes.
this whole marketing issues. How were you guys able to, because this happens a lot in the Highlands, sometimes there's chaotic situations, turn the whole tourism situation sour. How'd you guys override that?
Well, the team of marketer decided that it was important to really drum up the press, the PR, drum up the PR and show the real statistic. Because while we were having crime, but they were not crime against the tourists. They were internal crimes. And we know everywhere in the world has crime. Even right here in the United States, even right here in Boston. Gang
And sometimes worse
Yes.
than it is overseas. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But you know, the media and the publicity that is given.
That negativeness,
Yes.
which is the narrative that they draw,
Right.
so that they can eliminate the functioning of the country. Well, that was a very nice way to put it, because it always happened this way. Very often when there are controversies inside of a country, foreigners are not really being affected by it.
That's
But somewhere along the line, the government wants to send out warnings and so on and so forth. But,
Yes.
yeah. Anyhow, so this is good. So you guys finally overcome it, and right now it's been very fruitful.
Very, very productive. They had focused, Jamaica has focused on the product and the service, and those were the key. I mean, when it comes to, and I would say not just only Jamaica, the region, when it comes to service, we're number one on that in the Caribbean. That's why when we migrate here, you'll find a lot of us working in the hospitality industry.
Okay.
Yeah, we, as they say in Indiana, It's our bread and butter.
Listen, the mixture between England and United States and the livelihood of Jamaica. Tell us a bit about that, because I know sometimes you guys feel like that you have obligations toward this one more than the other. So how does that fit in?
Well, I mean, we were colonized by Great Britain, and unfortunately, well, we're looking at removing the Queen as the head of the state soon to become a republic like Barbados, who was also predominantly a British colony. And our schooling, which I prefer the British schooling than the American schooling. And we were able to, you know, work with some of the opportunities that Great Britain had to offer us. And I think the Great Britain realized that some of its colony, they still had to hold on to us because they were still gaining some of the spoils from the colonial.
Continue milking the cow.
Yes. But I mean, we are happy that we became independent. Next year will be 60 years of independence for Jamaica. That's a milestone.
Now, you saying turning into a republic, trying to explain that out for us. Because once we hear the word independence, 60 years ago, we seem to think that all the wires have been cut off and there should not have been any obligations or any connections at all whatsoever to the kingdom. So tell us about that.
Well, being a republic, right now Jamaica is still under the Queen, so all cases and judicial stuff has to go to Great Britain as the last resort. We see in the Caribbean they establish a Caribbean Court of Justice, and that's the way most of the Caribbean is looking at moving at. So once we remove the Queen as the head of the state, then we're able to put in our own head, and like Barbados did, there's a lady that became the head, and now we can formulate our own laws, we can look at constitutional changes, and we don't have to report to Great Britain. However, we remain under the Commonwealth, just like Massachusetts is part of a Commonwealth.
So is Puerto Rico, or is part of the Commonwealth? I see what you mean. But what's the advantage? Tell us about the advantage of remaining in the Commonwealth instead of complete independence.
Well, we benefit from resources. We are able to attend these meetings. We're able to strategize with policies and advocate on a worldwide level as a Commonwealth country.
It's like a family group tree, and you are a part of it. It was not long ago, Prince Charles made a statement or restorations or reparations, should I say. Tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely, I agree with repatriation because they have benefited a lot from us, both America and Great Britain. I'm a kind of a mix with repatriation because if one prime example, yes, we would like to benefit solely from funds and whatever is entailed, but what are we looking for from repatriation? Because if we request funds from repatriation, it still goes back to the white man, because how many black banks are there? We have to make sure that we develop a system so that the money does not flow back to the colonialists. So I would say for repatriation, why not tangible stuff?
Let's
ask for
it would be more beneficial than instead of the funding of. I see what you mean. I think this is interesting ways of going about it, because the other way.
Let's build our education system. Let us build resources that we don't have that we can get from them without paying a cost.
Interesting. This is so very nice. I'd like to remind you folks that my guest today is Andrew Sharp from the Authentic Caribbean Foundations. With him today we are having a dialogue, which is our first part of the segment. And certainly we're going to be entering into the second part with him very soon, whereas we're going to be discussing both the organizations and also what's going on with that organizations around here in Massachusetts, because we know that he's deeply involved into organizing. And if you didn't know anything at all, you're learning so much today, because this organization is focusing toward people with disability. Now, your arrival in here, how was it? How was the transitions? How did you make out? How hard was it? And
It was hard. I mean, to come to the U.S. because when I was back home, I said I will never come to this.
In spite of visiting it, after you and you saw with your own eyes,
yes.
Yeah, this is not. Yeah.
Yes, so
And when you were hearing from your brothers and sisters complaining, man, this is not easy here at all. We wish that we go back.
So it was a kind of, I wouldn't say difficult, but it was, to transition to understand the system, because it was different, and coming from we're based under the British system, so to be able to transition into the American system was a kind of a challenge for me, and also the weather, to really.
That's reality for you.
So much snow. But you get adjusted to it. I like season because in Jamaica we do have a cold period, like where I live, which is close to the Blue Mountains, which is about 4,500 feet above sea level. We do get real cold weather, that's 60.
Especially in the winter.
Yes.
Yeah, especially in the winter.
So,
when that deep breeze coming from the seas and heading up to
yes.
the top of the hill, it brings some chills, right?
Yes.
Well, listen, the patois that we were talking about that has emerged now, that has become all of that, how easy it is, because, for all those days that I've been with Jamaican, and I'll tell you, it's been quite a few years. For the past 40 years, I've attempted at times, see what if I can understand it completely. At times I got lost, especially when I meet with the elderlies. I've served a few Jamaican people within my business, Avant-Garde Multi-Services, and when they would come to me, the elders, it's very difficult.
Yes.
I could not catch up. Sometimes I pretend, as if I was listening to the English language and trying to manage here and there. Because that's one of the patience that one has when you're a foreigner.
Yes.
You learn to adapt to other people's needs very easily. And you try to understand out of the lines what's going on. But tell us a little bit about this language and
Well, the patois is broken up into French, African, and English.
Okay.
And a little Latin in it, because most language is based off Latin. And the thing about the patois is the fastness of its being spoken.
Very rapidly, man. And this is why, this is why you can't make it up very easily at all. Yes. So.
And then we switch them. So like you always say uno, you and then o. So to be able to, and then the thing about it you mentioned, the elderly folks, and it depends on the area you're coming from. It's much of a deeper patois,
yes,
and a much faster one.
Right. Yeah.
With sometimes you might find a little accent to it from that area that the person is coming from. So like the country versus the Kingston versus the people from Montego Bay versus the people from Kingston.
Same thing in Haiti. Same thing. The northern people speak differently from the southern people, and so on and so forth. Now, do you notice this, especially here in the United States, whenever a foreign language is being spoken, people's reactions to it could be sarcastic.
Yes.
Wondering what if you are fighting with each other, wondering what's wrong, how come these people speak that way, and so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit about the prejudice of it.
Yeah, I think what I had picked up too when I came here into the United States was persons not being globally educated. So when they see another person, they were like, you know, resistance or, you know, demeaning to that person and not understanding the whole global complex of the world, that in various areas you have various people with different accent, and, you know, and not everybody is poor. Because, you know, and just moving here also, it shocked me at how predominant racism was towards other nationalities. You know, in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, we embrace others. We embrace others.
Yes,
well,
sir.
our motto is one love.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I'm glad that you bring this up, and I'm going to give you an invite. In 2022, we intended to bring in the African diaspora together. And one of the ways that I think to do it is to get to know each other.
Yes.
Because sometimes within our own heads, we build our own prejudices against each other. It's just the fact that total ignorance.
Yes.
I don't know why you speak this way. I don't know why you eat that kind of food. I don't know why you dress that way. So we intended to flunk it to the audience so they can also be educated.
Right.
So Jamaica will be top of our list. You may have to find some of the, what do you call them, some of the other actors to bring in with you so that we can showcase and sell Jamaica as if you were doing it to the world, okay? So looking forward to it, and it is a pleasure to have you, and we will certainly be coming back with you into our next segment. It has been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to have into our midst today Andrew Sharp. Yes, he carries the name right, Sharp. He is as sharp as you can think of. So we'll have him soon back here again, and this time we'll be discussing more important issues pertaining to our livelihood here in the city of Boston. Please, we'll see you next time. It was Jean-Claude Senon. Until then.
Vaccin COVID-19 là approuvé pour ti moun 5 ans ou soit plus grand.
C'est plusieurs milliers de timoun qui te participé dans test qui prouvait vaccin sain et sauf et puis li efficace.
Année qui s'est passée là, c'était difficile pour nous toutes, et spécialement pour Timoun New York.
Vaccin a permis toute activité recommencer. En même temps, la mette ti moun yo et nous même tout en sécurité.
Li normal pour nous gen question sous petit nous ak vaccin.
Parler avec Petito, les fini, prend conseil dans mes docteurs.
Mes amis, fais la science confiance. Prends vaccin.